And good morning, everybody. It's 8:45 in the morning on August 8th, 2022. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to do just a real simple analysis of Bitcoin, the S&P 500, and NASDAQ. Again, I'm going to keep it real simple today because what I want to do is I actually want to focus on something pretty important that not a lot of people give weight to, and I think it's really important, especially if you trade options. And I have talked about this before. So if you are a follower and you've been watching me for any amount of time, you probably have heard me talk about this. And I just want to discuss, why this is so darn important. Before I get into any of it, of course, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research. I'm just giving my opinion on the market. And one final note, if you don't like making money, if you don't like creating some kind of a path to financial freedom, then definitely do not subscribe. I don't want you to subscribe to the channel if you are not interested in finding a way to actually making a career out of this. But if that's your cup of tea, then definitely make sure that you hit that subscribe button, and we'd love to have you along on the journey. All right, let's go ahead and move on into the chart. I'm sitting here looking at NASDAQ. So what I want to do is, just kind of want to take a look and see like where we're at, where we've come from. I'm going to go to a 4-hour time frame. I don't have anything on this chart as far as trend lines or Elliott wave theory or anything like that. And I actually don't want to focus too much on Elliott wave theory either. What I actually want to focus on is that support and resistance and the importance of it. So what I want to do is I want to kind of take a look here at a few different things. So first off, let's take a look at these pivots from down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a box here from the high to the low. Okay, so you can see we've got the high and the low right here. So this is creating a little bit of a range. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to extend this guy over to the right here. And I just want you to see what we have done, right? So what we did is we had one low, we had a second low that was a little bit lower. We had a good rally off of that. But then what ended up happening? We came down, we actually went lower than this. We chopped, we came back lower, we chopped, and then we broke. And then, of course, what ended up happening, we had a little bit of a rally. We came right up to that level, and then we rejected in a big, big way. So why is that important? Well, that's important first off because, when we went and we pushed lower and then we came back down, that should have been a little bit of a warning sign that we're going to continue moving lower, because this again looks very corrective. And again, just kind of putting an Elliott wave theory hat on here, we had 1, 2, 3 waves, and that's very corrective. And then of course we had one touch, two touches, third time it didn't hold. So that again should be a sign that we're going to be moving lower. And again, these are 4-hour candles, so every 3 candles, 4 candles or so, because this isn't a 24/7 market. It's close, but not quite. So every few candles is an entire day. So you had about a day to figure out that hey, we're going to break down. Even if you waited for the big breakdown here, you still had an opportunity to basically get into a short position at the bottom of that key level. And again, these key levels are important for high time frames. They're also important for low time frames. So let's go ahead and zoom into what we've just recently dealt with. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. We're going to see we've got data here. We've got August 1st and August 2nd. So again, we're going to do the same thing. This range is not going to be as crazy because it's a little tighter. But let's move back over here. And you can see what we've done. We've created 2 points of resistance, and we came down here, we tested it, and then we kind of had a little bit of a rally, very similar to what we had way back, that what we were showing earlier, all the way back here, right? We had one test, we had a second test, but notice these went a lot deeper. Whereas here in the most recent time, we only had wicks that went down into this zone. It happened twice, and we're currently rallying off of that. Now, this looks a lot different, I will admit, than it did back then, but it's still showing the importance of these key levels. Something else that I will also point out is we have an important level that is right here that is signified by these candle opens and closures. And that's going to be approximately in this range. So we are at a level where we have some resistance. But now, If we push through this, where are we going to go? And again, this is why it's important for options traders. A lot of times inside of our insured room, what you'll hear me say is, well, if we break through this level, then the next level is this, and then after that is this. And I always get those levels based off of support and resistance. So let me just go ahead and look to the left. We have resistance, resistance, resistance. So I'm just going to put a horizontal line right here just so that we can see if there's any other confluence. And that's going to be at 13,550. 1, 2, 3 times we tapped that, and it got rejected 1, 2, 3 times. We haven't tested 13,550 yet. If we do, I would expect there is going to probably be some significant resistance in that area. Probably we'll see a pullback of some kind. And then just kind of going to the left, not a whole lot. Again, we've got a little bit of resistance here, a little bit of support here. Nothing super significant. I would say the more significant level is probably going to be right here at 13,718. So that was built off of this wick here, pretty big one. We had a little bit of support here. We had some support right here. We had a little bit of clustering. I call it clustering, but basically we have some chop inside of these two levels before it broke down, and then caused this to be an incredible level of resistance, which we're potentially going to be attempting to hit. That's at 13,550, and if we break through 13,550, again, the next level is going to be 13,718. We'll call it 13,725. That's probably the more equal number that we're going to be looking for. So that's what I'm looking at here, and this is on NASDAQ. Let's go ahead and move into the S&P 500. I know everybody here is itching for me to take a look at Bitcoin, which I have some interesting, let's see here, get rid of my drawings. Okay, I do have some interesting thoughts on Bitcoin, which I will talk about. Now, on the S&P, again, it looks a lot different. It looks a little bit weaker than NASDAQ. But again, we have this push down. Remember, NASDAQ didn't push down quite this low. If you recall, when we created that box of levels right here, right, you had the low and then you had the lower low. Remember, this box was a lot smaller. We move this over, and what are we doing? Well, we're creating, again, a range where we're probably going to be bouncing off of. And again, this next level is going to be about 42.10. It shows 42.12 here because that was the wick low here on the S&P futures. This is 42.12 on ES futures, which equals about 42.10 on SPX. Right now, SPX, as it should, is a little bit lower than what the futures is. Now, a couple months ago, rewind, you actually had the S&P 500, which was trading higher than the futures. Futures was bearish. We call that backwardation. Now we are at a level of contango with the futures, which means futures prices are higher than the underlying, the index, right? So this is where we're at right now. So if the ES futures, which is the S&P 500 futures, goes up to that 42.14 level, that's going to be a level for SPX to be at about 42.10, which is, again, where I've been talking about there being some interesting areas of resistance. What would this open up the door for? If we get resistance here at 42.10 or 42.14 on the futures, that opens up the door for, and I don't want to be too premature here, but that does open up the door for there to be a shoulder, a head. Let me do that a little bit better. A head and then another shoulder. Now this would go into the end of August. I think right now a lot of people, myself included, are expecting September and October to be either very, very bearish or very, very choppy. But at a minimum, I am expecting there to be a little bit of a pullback. And my futures position suggests that as well. If you've been following me for any amount of time on Twitter, you will also know that I did just recently flip bearish on NASDAQ after capturing about a 1,500 point rally since, basically the end of June. But now for this guy, again, we've got our level here at about 42.14. The next level after that, and this is the same as it is on NASDAQ. This chop, right? It looks a lot different on the S&P, but on NASDAQ, this is the same level. And I would suggest that it's probably going to be somewhere right here, 42.85. If we do push through 42.15, we're going to go to 42.85. And the next level, and let me see if I could find the next key level, is going to be about right here. This is based off of this resistance. We have a little bit of resistance here, a little range, a front run of support there. Not really any amount of interest right here as far as that level is concerned, except for a little bit of resistance right here. But 4,400 roughly is going to be where we go if 42.85 to 4,300 is overtaken. Now, that is saying if we break that level and we hold that level, chances are, probability says we're going to go to the next level. This is why price acceptance is so important. So price acceptance meaning there was demand here back in January. Late January, there was demand here. So that's your price acceptance. There was demand and it rallied off of that. Now again, there was resistance here, more price acceptance that the price should not go higher than that. And this was back at that point in time in history. Then we come back down here, and again, more resistance, support, and then it pushed up, and then it broke through that resistance level, and then we found a little bit of support there, but eventually fell through. Now, I only say that to say, once you break through an important resistance level, you try and turn that into support. If it turns it into support, you're absolutely going to go to that next level, which is at 4,200. Things did look a little weak last week at the end of the week, so I exited out of my long position, and I've gone ahead and flipped short, and I have the risk tolerance to be able to stay short for a significant period of time and not be squeezed out of my position. So I'm planning on holding that for a while, is what I'm saying, and I'm willing to be underwater in that position because it just captured a 1,500 point move on NASDAQ. So I can take a little bit or even a lot of drawdown. I still believe we're going to fall at some point here in the next 2 months. So I'm planning on holding that position into September. And if things end up going my way, I am planning on rolling it. So let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin. At Bitcoin, let's go ahead and use the Bitstamp chart. And let me go ahead and clear everything off here. What I want to do is I want to take a look, because we've already seen a pretty significant move to the upside here in just the last 8 hours. So let's go ahead and take a look at the important level. I actually want to focus on this level right here. So let's put that right there at the bottom. That level at about 25,400, it really looks like we do want to test that. I'm going to go down here to a 1 hour time frame and just kind of show you guys what we're looking at right here. So first off, what we're looking at a left shoulder, we're looking at a head, and we're looking at a right shoulder, which is breaking through an area of resistance. And that area of resistance is about right here, which ended up basically being our neckline. So what do we have? We have an area of resistance here, and then with a little bit of support here, and more support here when we had this crazy candle. I don't know if you guys remember this. We had a big move in both directions before it finally started moving down. But anyway, this level here at about 23,460 was an important level of resistance because we touched it 1, 2, 3. We broke through and got rejected, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, and that 8th time, it just gave in. And then we started to see a little bit of a short squeeze. Do I think we have a more significant short squeeze ahead of us? Well, it really depends on what happens here, which again, resistance, resistance, and again, and again, and again, and again, and we're touching it again. Like over and over and over, eventually we're going to break. And for right now, we've broken through this neckline, which is also a key level we've already discussed, and we're moving up and we tap that next level. So this just goes further to prove my point that once you break through a level, and if you do it with enough force and you do it with enough support, then you're going to move to that next level. And that's exactly what happened on Bitcoin. 23,460 broke, and now it went up to 24,200. or 24,198 is what I've got in here, but it's roughly going to be 24,200. Now we're only about $80 shy of that key level. If it breaks through that level, let me just go ahead and zoom out. Chances are, aside from this level right here, which is just keyed off of this one area of resistance at 24,683, chances are pretty good we're going to see a move back up to about 25,380. I have been somewhat bullish on Bitcoin for at least the last month, almost month and a half. I was talking about July being green. I talked about July being green on the traditional markets. I've talked about July being green for Bitcoin, which is why I haven't been interested in shorting, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Once we get to this big red level, I would expect there to be a pretty significant amount of resistance. Now, if we do break through that, then we're going to be probably moving all the way up here to roughly 28.5 or 28.6. That's going to be the next key level. Now, there might be some little levels in between, like maybe a level right here at about 27,160, maybe a little bit here at about 28,100. 28,576 is where we're going to see the most area of resistance, because you can see here for how much time did we spend up in this range? About a month. About a month we spent test, 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 and then break, right? So for about a month we spent there. So I would again expect there to be a significant amount of resistance there at about 28,576. Can we hit that level? Well, that's a great question. I want to talk about that just a little bit because I know everybody's really interested in this. So what did we have here? We had a test of the 618. We should see a move up to 25,728. Okay? So that level is there. That level is important. But if we break through that, where's the next level that we're going to likely be pushing to? I'm focusing on this dominant pivot low, dominant pivot high, and the 618 pullback. I'm going to focus on this for right now. So you can see here, we already have some resistance there at the 618 extension. So that's, expected. We tapped that. We had some resistance there. So that fib level was already touched, and we have tried to push above it, and we are again touching it again this morning. And that's again at that 24,198 area, 24,200. If we push through this, the next interesting level of Fibonacci extension resistance is at about 26,562. Okay, so if you wanted to see if that 236, maybe we turn that into the 382 extension here. Let me see if I can change that to the 382. I just want to see if that puts any confluence there around that 100, and it does. Usually when you get a 618 pullback, some of the highest probability trades you can take are going to the 236 extension, but if we go to the 382 extension, that also gets right in line with the 100% extension right here. So again, if this is a corrective move, and so far it has looked pretty corrective. We got an A, B, and then a WXY to get up here to this 100. That level would be hard to get through, and that's based off of these extension models, and that's at about 26,538. That's my thought on Bitcoin. That's my thought on the S&P 500, and that's my thought on NASDAQ. For the S&P 500, keep a real close eye on 4210. If it gets through 4210, it's going to get to almost 4,300. For Bitcoin, keep a real close eye right here at about 24,200. If we can get through 24,200, chances are pretty good we're going to get up above 25,000. Probably going to get to 26,500. Break through that, we're going to go to 28. That's just what my gut tells me, based off of the key levels and based off of what this is all saying. Take a look at the Wave Master on the 4-hour. And what we've got here on the 4-hour, you've got the white wave, which is, it hasn't moved into the neutral zone. It's still in the bearish control zone. But when we had a buy right here, that was at a low. That was a significant area that you should be buying. Again, we had another little buy right here, which again, we've seen a good rally off of. Back here, another buy, and that was a significant rally. Here was a buy, and there was a significant rally. And we actually had a sell signal right here. And actually right here, we had another big sell signal right there. Right here, a sell signal. So you can see that since we had this big cliff dive, a good buy signal here, once the red wave got down into this area of oversold, buy here, rally, and here's your sell. Buy here, rally, here's your sell. Buy here, rally, you had some take profits, but that red wave needed a little bit of time to get up here. But in other words, you had a good sell here, buy here, sell here. We had a good little buy. It wasn't as strong as we've seen in the past, but we did see some bullish divergence, and then we're getting up into that area of resistance. So I would say be careful moving forward, but that's what I'm looking at right now. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. If this video did help you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share, all the good stuff. And, of course, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.